All right. I ain't done one of these in a long time, so forgive me. Uh, However, gonna talk about this because it's funny to me, and I actually find a bit of enjoyment from it because I think that people are completely missing the boat now at this point. People don't even understand what they're actually upset about currently with the point system, with the week to week product. Um, and of course, we're talking about the finale race, right? Which, you guys, me personally, right? I haven't watched NASCAR on a week to week basis in probably, man, 6 years. 6 years or so. When they went to the lower horsepower and all that stuff, I was basically a goner. Like, I'm good. Um, it just isn't interesting to me, so I switched over to IndyCar, and I've been watching more of that on a week to week basis. Because at least the cars are fast, you know what I mean? Like, a level of there's a level of motorsport that I care to like uh fantasize and think about, you know? Um and it's mostly just skill factor, fear factor. You know, you like to romanticize those ideas, and that's definitely me, so I'm biased. But guys, I mean, with this point system thing, I think people need to understand what they're really asking for at this point, because we're talking about points as if that's going to be the determining factor as to have a good event, to have great events, to come down to a finale to have great events, etc. And you're missing the entire point of why this was done in the first place, which, history lesson. Um, Brad and Jeff Gordon, right? All those years ago, people want this chaos. You know, people liked when Ross Chastain did what he did at Martinsville, and I thought it was horseshit because the point system shouldn't be the way that it is to allow for such an event like that. But people are very particular and biased. So, depending on which way the, pendulum swings, they're cool with it, and other times they're not. And at least me, I try to be, consistent. Um, in terms of the product, we have to go back to Brad and Jeff Gordon because you got to see the dark side of this conundrum that they immediately put themselves in, and it was evident from day one, and it was evident in the finale as well. Um, you know, People will still argue about it to this day, but Brad had to do what Brad had to do, and that was the correct move in that moment to try to take that spot, take that position. You need the points. You may as well need to try to win. You basically have to win 3 times during this point system the way that it is, unless you kind of skirt by like Ryan Newman, and that works too. There's multiple different strategies that you can play, but the most efficient is win the race, which that was the whole point to this shit. You need to try to win the race. You need to try to, body people out of the way. If this guy is, closer to you in points than you'd prefer, then, move him out of the way. Get this guy out of your way. You basically are like a starving dog, and any whiff of food, you're supposed to go chase that. And that works. And there's been great moments, we can't sit here and act like there hasn't been. but it is kind of like clown college type of stuff where it's not what motorsports is supposed to be. I mean, we don't have a playoff. It's supposed to be who had the most points at the end of the year, and that should be the champion. And there's been multiple individuals in the system that should have won the championship but did not. Like, think about Joey and Kevin in 2015. They had nothing to do with the finale. Nothing to do with it. Should have. Should have been racing for a championship. Look at those 2 years statistically between those two and try to tell me why y'all did this, right? Because that's the real part of it that, they're focusing on that too much, though. Because now, with this point system, the way that it is, you have stage racing, too. Like, constant yellows. It basically mixes up the entire strategy of the race. Like Carl Edwards forever ago was talking about, the phantom yellows and stuff, and being like, dude, look, this is splitting up the event in a way that it should not be done. Like, you shouldn't be doing that unless the threat is real, because now you've just created a secondary event. Like, now it's not what we started with. There's a whole new dynamic change that was based off of bullshit, right? So when people are talking about the point system, they need to be talking about that as well, where the stage racing, I don't think is going to be good with a point system that relies on not only extra points for finishing a stage, which is insane. I don't see why that's a thing. I don't see why it's important to be leading in the first 70 laps, the first 100 laps, depending on which tracks you're at and etc. Like, oh, he was the leader on lap 65. He's awarded 10 points. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, why is that relevant? Because there's been tons and tons and tons of times that dudes have come back from, like, 35th, 43rd, 41st, and won the fucking event. And was not there the grand majority of the race. Outside the top 15, outside the top 10, outside the top 5. Sometimes things just shake up to where, it wasn't relevant, and it shouldn't be relevant. Now, you can give points for the fastest lap. You can give points for the most laps led. That makes sense. But if we're talking about removing this point system and replacing it with something older, like even the chase for the cup, like, you have to get rid of stage racing, and I don't think that's going to happen. Is it for the good of the company? Yeah, probably. Because there are people that are, they're not stupid enough to sit there and continue to believe in this goofy narrative that they're trying to portray of the playoffs. It's time for the playoffs. Like, that's boomer shit to me. Oh, yeah, the playoffs. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, who's actually caring about that in this sport? I don't think it's very many. Yeah, you tried to market this to a bigger audience, but, like, newsflash, guys, the audience is slowly going away. It's slowly, being sucked away by either the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, mixed martial arts. Like, it doesn't really matter. There's a boxing, is coming back and a lot more relevant than it has been in the past few years. There's different sports to go and watch. There's different motorsports to go and watch. Like the access also has been restricted. Certain people who aren't paying for certain cable packages cannot see these events. There's a lot to it, but the long and the short of it is that this marketing change, the way that it was done out of like, you know, it's not greed, but it is. It's a idea. It's a greedy way of thinking that you can manufacture, these like goofy sellable moments. It's disingenuous is really the thing. Like, you can't survive on this system for very long because you just keep getting, you know, stupid stuff like Jimmy Johnson at the Roval that one year. I think it was 2018, where he was fighting for his damn life to try to get in and junk Truex. Then you had Ross Chastain do the same thing. That guy, I can't really fucking stand him, to be honest with you, but you have to do what you have to do. At least that wasn't like Martinsville to me, which I don't care what anybody says. Martinsville was... It's that. It's that exact moment that I'm talking about, like manufacturing a moment. That moment wouldn't have existed if you're on a normal point system. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's not going to happen again. And also, they were right to outlaw it because it was fucking stupid. Like, I think people miss that too, is that, the organization has a really, really bad time trying to officiate these races because they just literally don't want to do it themselves. They're too lazy. They're complicit in a lot of dumb shit occurring, and they're never going to change that. So, like, the fact that people think, well, the points change will do it. No, dude, it's the cars. It's the mentality that the point system gives you that y'all love so much that now you want to go away. And along with the fact of all of those moments that you want, without this point system, are manufactured as they are because of the point system, the way that it works. So, like, I don't think people are really prepared to, like, see what... And also the stages, that's number 4. Like, you cannot do the Winston Cup, the chase for the cup, systems with stage racing. You just can't do it. I just don't see a way to do it. And it wouldn't make sense, because then you're just dealing with an even more convoluted point system that you can barely understand, And that's a thing as well with this system that's continued to be worked on since like 2014, really 2011, but 2014 with the, the stage racing and everything coming in. The fucking system is just goofy as it is, dude. Like, it's not really worth a damn. You can tell that they kind of just put it together mostly to generate, like, views, like clicks and stuff, because at least for me, sorry, I had to pause for a second. At least for me, I try to... Wait, hold on. I actually have to Okay, anyway. I think back to Charlotte in 2014 in the playoff race. Like, with the Brad, Matt Kenseth, Denny Hamlin, Tony, everybody in the world against Brad. And... dude, like, the whole, and we've gotten to see it now, where, Brad wasn't lying. Like, Matt Kenseth hit him under caution, like, straight up did. Like, regardless of if he was racing him like shit, he actually rammed into him, like, screwed him over, like, fucked up his car. What's a dude supposed to do at that point? It's not his fault that the dude wasn't wearing his seatbelt. It wasn't his, and it was his fault that he wanted to start shit with somebody under a yellow in like the highest stress situations humanly possible in the entire fucking sport by that point, you know, with this system and the way that it works and the way that you have to operate and the way that you have to think and blah, 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 blah. So, like, the fact that Kenseth wanted to act so crazy, and I don't think people realize, like, how stupid all that shit was. Because at least for me, man, like, a lot of that shit was fucking retarded. Like, there was a lot of fucking stupid stuff that was fucking going on back then that people were just like okay with, you know, like, oh, that's fun, oh, that's cool, that was a neat moment, oh, they're fighting, they're whatever. Everybody likes that kind of stuff, but and I do too. Like, I can't sit here and act like I don't. It was exciting, but for what reason? What was the actual reason for it? Were they going for the win and they fucking wrecked each other? And you know, no, it was some shit under caution because Matt Kenseth is like low key deranged in a couple of ways. Frankly, in my opinion, where, you know, he's two-faced, you know, and that came out in a lot of those moments during that point system where he's a weird two-facer. Like, where if you push him to his limit, he's going to explode in like really weird and frankly like immature ways, you know, because like if you start something with somebody, then you're at the will of the other person who's living in your head rent free like that. And that's why you'll see a lot of those dudes just like they'll say shit, but then it's water under the bridge because you can't really just continue to give a fuck about stuff like that. Because if you do, then you're going to be in your own head and you're not going to succeed. You're just going to be more worried about, well, where did this guy finish and where did I finish? It doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, it does not matter. Where's he at? Why do you care? You know? The Charlotte and Texas stuff in that first season of this point system, the way that it's designed and the way that they wanted to go about, you know, fractioning up the races and making basically like 3 different races in one race, really leads credence to like the goofy shit that we got to see. It's the main proponent as to why all that stuff was happening, but then also it showed like, at least to me, and I remember thinking that when I was like way younger, because I was way younger when that stuff was going on, and feeling like this shit was dumb as hell. Like, it just stupid. Like, it's not that cool, man. It was mostly, you know, a little like immature, like just forcing moments to occur just because you want them to. Like, you want this like weird mannequin of your imagination that wasn't based off of like the relevancy of what they were even doing. It was just how do I make do? And then it did. And everybody was like, holy shit. And I don't think that's the direction that they should be going. I think the sport was way more popular when it was, you know, about the personalities of the guys that were out there, and that's completely lost too because you're allowing, you know, these corporate entities to put into contracts that you're not allowed to say this, you're not allowed to say that, which is insane in my opinion. Completely insane. You should know what you signed up for, especially considering the product. The product is the product. You're involved in the product, then you're a part of the product. You're not supposed to change the product, okay? And that's what companies are doing as well, along with NASCAR, too. Where, you know, now, oh, we're going to penalize people for intentionally wrecking. Brother, we're kind of past that at this point, if, you know. Like, are we serious? There's a lot of weird stuff that y'all have let slide. Where, you know, like, I thought Kenseth at Martinsville should have been a way bigger suspension, a way bigger issue, a way bigger problem. And no one gave a fuck. The only person that I heard talking any sense was Kyle Petty during that time, where he was like, dude, are we serious? Like, is this for real? Like, is this what we're doing now? Because you're so bent out of shape. This guy's so in your head. You're so convinced that you've been wronged, when in reality you got exactly what was coming to you based off of the way that you were driving people. Like, you got tunnel vision, and it forces you to, like, they're forced to, which is something to always remember. It's not all his fault, but like the modus that you went to prove a point was like actually gross. Like, people view that moment as like a great moment. Like, dude, I'm sorry, but I don't agree. And if the roles were reversed, I wouldn't have liked it either. Like, I'm a big Joey fan, dude, but like if Joey did that, I would have been like, bro, what the fuck is that? And people will say, well, he's done stuff like, no, he ain't. Not like that, dude. That was, he committed murder. Basically. I mean, junked him as hard as he could in the worst opportune time, where the dude was having probably the best season, arguably, anyone had had in a really long time. Really dominant, really, really good, and gone with the wind. Should have been the legitimate champion. I think by points he would have been, if I remember right. But taken away. Soiled. No one cares about that, though. That was a good moment. Denny Hamlin getting fucked over at Martinsville by Ross Chastain just full throttling it through the corner because the cars are completely broken and they're so stiff that you can do it, and it's way faster. Like, dude, that's not good. I don't see why these are good things. And I think it's because the newer fans that are here that are joining in, and there's less of them every year, but the ones that are, they don't remember, like, I don't think a lot of these people have watched, like, older races and seen, how the product on track was, like, where there was a lot of give and take, dude. There was a lot of give and take in the series because the races are long, dude. Like, long fucking races. If it's lap 25 and you're way faster than me, I may as well let you go. That's not what it is now. Now it's fighting and clawing and scratching for every single position. And in a spec car, spec parts, that's not good. Because they didn't figure out the problem with the aero. How to reduce dirty air. It's bad. It's not good. The whole product as a whole is ruined by, like, psychological tricks to make it seem more exciting, to make it seem fresher, but it's not. It's just, weird. It's just strange. It just doesn't make any sense. I'll make one more point and then I'll fucking leave this to you because you guys can do whatever you want with this information. But I was watching Kenny Wallace talk about it on his YouTube channel, and dude, there was things that he said that I agreed with, but there was stuff that he said that I don't think insiders of the sport really understand, like, the difference between the newer generation of people watching and becoming a part of it, and they don't remember the old stuff. They don't remember, legitimate racing, like, because this is zombified racing. I mean, it's in a weird, weak form. In terms of motorsports. The biggest motorsport is the most, like, wacky and stupid, with stupid rules, stupid shit, a stupid point system that rewards being like kind of a scumbag, basically, like, you know, or it rewards kind of like not necessarily mediocrity, but like sort of mediocre people can make it through and win the whole damn championship on this system, which the craziest part was is emphasizing wins. Well, wins don't mean shit when Ryan Newman is like a half a car length away from winning the first fucking season of that point system with no wins. No wins at all. He almost did it. Was so close. And it honestly, in a perfect world, it should have happened because there was no reason that the system should have survived after a season. They should have realized what was going on. But that was the idea to begin with, was to make horrendous, stupid moments. Anyway, the newer generation of people watching are, I would say, younger, for sure, younger than me, because I don't subscribe to anything that's fucking going on with this shit, because I remember watching, you know, and then that was with the chase, too, but like 2004, you know, watching Winston Cup in 2003, you know, watching Tony Stewart in 05 win the title and stuff. You know, people don't understand, like, at this point, in my opinion, there's a lot more new people watching than there is older people watching, if I had to guess. And if it's not that, then I don't know what to say, because I guess these people are, like, deluded at this point. But Kenny Wallace was saying, why is this a problem now? Which I agree with, like, entirely. There's been way too many times that this has happened where it made no fucking sense then to allow it then and not now. You know, where we're balls deep into the system, dude. Like, we're in it. You know, been in it for a while. Why didn't anybody find a problem with Ross doing what he did at Martinsville? Why didn't anybody find a problem with Kevin Harvick not winning the championship in 2018? Why didn't anybody care about, you know, there's so many different, Joey and Kevin not winning in 2015, 2016. You know, there's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of things that you can point to and be like, Jesus, man. And now everyone cares. Why? What's the big change, dude? What are you really upset about? And I think a lot of people don't know how to recognize, like, what the real fucking issue is. And it's that dumbass car. The car sucks. That car is not a stock car. It's stupid. It makes no sense. It's garbage. You know, they refuse to put horsepower on the fucking thing. They just absolutely refuse to do the things that you should do, which is try to fix the cause of your issue. Is this car that y'all acted like was going to save money, save the team's money, peachy keen, everything's good. Now it's a better machine, it's safer. That came to be completely false. That car is very fucking dangerous, number one. Number two, it's not cost effective. In fact, it's more. It's more cost to the teams. And number three, oh, and I forgot to mention this, a part of the points too, is that, like, you know, DNFs, guys, like, did not finish. Are they gonna get rid of the damage clock? Like, do you guys realize, like, how big of a thing this is? Like, where, you know, do y'all even have enough spec parts weekly? NASCAR bringing spec parts for you to be able to change them so you can get back into the race like how they used to? Like where Jimmy Johnson saved his championship in 2009 because he crashed at Texas and got back out there and finished the race after being like almost damn near 100 laps down, dude. Like, saved a lot of his championship through that and missed wrecks at Talladega and all that crap. Like, dude, do people even realize what they're asking for? Is the real question. Like, what are y'all talking about? Like, we're too far gone for that shit to even be a discussion, really, because I don't see that being a thing. I don't see NASCAR really stepping up anything to sit there and, like, try to facilitate this idea that you want. Because they're barely limping to the barn right now, dude. I mean, barely limping to the barn. And it's been like that for years, dude. Like, for years and years and years. Just barely limping to the barn with rule changes, officiating being an actual, true officiating company that's, trying to create a decent product that isn't full of fuckery. Like, they don't do any of those things. So I just don't see, like, the whole thing is just kind of fucking stupid. I don't know. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later.